The story begins at a busy port in Hong Kong, where massive cranes are loading shipping containers onto cargo ships. Now, those containers are being sent to different destinations under tight security. Inside one of them, hidden among stacks of cash, is a man named Ivan Mark. A shipment worth millions is moving through one of the busiest ports in the world. After clearing several security checkpoints, Ivan finally steps out of the container. The container had been shipped from Spain to Hong Kong, carrying $30 million in cash. Once the money is counted, Ivan is set to receive a 3% commission as the courier, about $900,000. For Ivan, this isn't just another job. It's the payoff he's been chasing for years. A few years earlier, Ivan stood outside a large hotel. He looked up to his father as a hero and could never forget the day they went together to ask for a loan so they could open a wedding banquet hall. That memory stays with him long after everything else begins to change. At first, the business did extremely well, and the family was making money hand over fist. But when an economic crisis hit the country, his father's business collapsed. That's when Ivan made a promise to himself. He would never live in poverty again. The recession took more than money. It changed the way Ivan saw the world. After the downturn, his father spent most of his time sitting in front of the TV, complaining about the government. Ivan grew frustrated with him. In his eyes, all his father did was blame other people instead of taking action. Ivan refuses to believe success comes from waiting for the system to save you. Around that time, Ivan started working as a valet, but he was always looking for a business opportunity. Unlike his father, he didn't believe in simply accepting the system as it was. One day, he shared a plan with his friends. He wanted to buy a rundown apartment, fix it up, and flip it for a profit. But his friends weren't interested in the idea, and none of them had money to invest. Ivan brushed it off and said they could just get a bank loan. The moment he said that, his friends burst out laughing. To everyone else, it sounded impossible. To Ivan, it sounded like a beginning. While working his valet job, Ivan and one of his friends spotted Mr. Larimer, a high-ranking politician in the current government. That night, he was extremely drunk. Ivan stepped forward and offered to drive him home, and the politician immediately agreed. What looks like a routine favor quickly becomes something much bigger. Ivan was eager to see what was inside the man's briefcase, and luckily for him, he had plenty of time. When he finally opened it and saw stacks of cash inside, he was stunned. Without hesitation, he slipped a few bills out and kept them. Sometimes, a single glimpse behind the curtain changes everything. A short time later, they arrived at the politician's residence. Ivan immediately met the woman the politician worked for. He believed he could do a far better job than the drunk politician standing in front of him. He didn't care what kind of business they were involved in. Ivan also told her that the politician had been stealing money behind her back. Since Ivan had already taken some cash from the briefcase himself, he knew the claim was true. Mary was impressed by his confidence, and before long, she offered him $10,000 to make a delivery. Ivan happily accepted the job, and just like that, a new door opens, one that could change his life forever. The next day, Ivan delivered a horse to a man named Francisco, who had bought it for his daughter Letitia's birthday. When Francisco asked a few questions, Ivan told him this was his first delivery for Mary. During their conversation, Ivan learned that they were both from the same city. He also heard Francisco's story, how he had once worked at a small copy shop, and gradually worked his way up by connecting with powerful people. Sometimes, the people at the top start from the most ordinary places. Ivan was supposed to deliver a cash-filled briefcase from Francisco to Mary, but the job turned out to be far from easy. On the way, he was pulled over by police officers. Within moments, they discovered the cash inside the briefcase. Trying to protect himself, Ivan lied and claimed he had just sold a house, and that the money came from the sale. The officers saw right through the story, and, furious, slammed his head against the car. One wrong answer, and everything starts falling apart. Realizing he was in serious trouble, Ivan confidently told them he knew their boss, and offered to make a call. After hearing that, the officers let him go. The truth was, those officers were working for Mary all along, and the entire situation had been part of her plan. It wasn't a police stop at all, it was a loyalty test. After the delivery was completed, Ivan received his payment, along with a bonus, so he could buy some new clothes. As time passed, Mary and Ivan grew closer. The following day, Ivan met Mary's husband, Francis, whose father was a major diamond smuggler. Their organization was also involved in foreign currency trafficking. The deeper Ivan gets involved, the bigger the operation becomes. That day, Ivan's role was to act as a courier traveling through Belgium. He loved the work. The money was excellent, and he was driving expensive cars. Francisco, whom many people also called Paco, specialized in laundering money for wealthy clients. Francis and Mary helped him run the operation. Behind every luxury lifestyle, there's a system moving money in the shadows. Paco would hand Ivan cash-filled briefcases that needed to be delivered to Belgium. One day, Ivan was talking with Letitia when Paco noticed them. He wasn't pleased and warned Ivan to stay away from her. A few days later, Ivan met Mary at a restaurant, where she explained that Belgium had become far too risky. Because of that, they had found a new partner in another city, Geneva. As one route becomes dangerous, another door quietly opens. While they were talking, both of them noticed a strange-looking couple nearby. Looking at them, Ivan joked about how the guy had managed to end up with such an attractive woman. Mary simply replied that everything was possible when you had what was inside his briefcase. Ivan still wanted to keep working with Mary, because he was eager to learn more about how the entire operation worked. The more Ivan sees, the more he wants to understand the game. Later, they arrived at a building where they met Mr. Stool, another one of Mary's business partners. He had created an effective system for laundering money and charged only a 3% commission for the service. Sometime later, while talking with his mother, Ivan spotted the same man with the attractive girlfriend on television. A small detail suddenly connects pieces that weren't supposed to fit together. On TV, Ivan also saw the man's wife and immediately realized he was having an affair with the woman from the restaurant. The man's name was Luis. Ivan quietly waited for an opportunity to return, planning to install a camera in his room and use the footage to blackmail him. To get inside, he even paid a cleaner a little money for help. Now, Ivan isn't just moving money, he's creating leverage. Unfortunately, Ivan was caught in the act by Yannick, the restaurant's security officer. But Yannick wasn't exactly innocent himself. All he wanted was a share of the profits. After that, Yannick personally installed the cameras. The video evidence they gathered was more than enough to blackmail Luis. What starts as a problem quickly turns into an opportunity. Ivan became convinced that Yannick could be an excellent partner. Not only was he strong, but he was also extremely smart. After finishing the job, the two of them spent the night celebrating and partying together. Later, Ivan met with Mary and told her that his mother had been insisting that he come visit her. For a moment, family pulls Ivan away from the world he's building. Mary immediately told him to take as much time off as he needed, because in her view, family always came first. She even gave him a watch as a gift, explaining that a person's watch and shoes reveal a lot about who they are. Later, Ivan and Yannick met with Luis and showed him the footage. They told him he had two choices: go to the police and destroy his reputation, or work with them. They wanted him to help move money from Spain to Switzerland, and with that offer, Luis becomes part of something much bigger than himself. At the same time, they wanted to open a branch in Luis's city, which meant they needed his cooperation. At first, Luis was hesitant, but eventually, he had no choice except to accept all of their conditions. They reached an agreement that, in exchange for deleting the video, Luis would introduce them to all the key players in his network. One deal suddenly gives Ivan access to people he could never reach on his own. At the time, Ivan had no idea that a special police unit was monitoring the entire operation. This was also the moment when Chief Inspector Roy first learned about Ivan. Before long, with Luis's support and backing, Ivan began meeting influential people and learning exactly how their businesses operated. The higher Ivan climbs, the more powerful the people around him become. Luis also helped establish Ivan's credibility by introducing him as someone he trusted. Later, Ivan met with Mary and told her about his new business venture, but Mary only had one concern: Francisco would not be happy about it. She knew he wouldn't like two newcomers taking away his clients. After all, if Ivan and Yannick weren't laundering their money, Francisco would be. Still, Ivan believed there was more than enough money in the business for everyone. Confidence keeps growing, even as new enemies start paying attention. Ivan also promised that he would not go after Francisco's clients. After spending the evening together, he asked Mary to stay longer, but she told him she wanted to spend Christmas with her family. When Ivan returned to Madrid to visit his own family, he brought plenty of gifts for them. Success looks impressive from the outside, but not everyone is impressed. His father wasn't happy at all, because he still had no idea what Ivan actually did for a living. He kept asking questions about his work. To avoid giving a real answer, Ivan casually said that he worked in import and export with some important people. Before long, the conversation turned into an argument. The more money Ivan makes, the harder it becomes to explain where it comes from. After the fight, Ivan went to see his old friends. By then, they were buying rundown apartments, renovating them, and flipping them for a profit. In other words, they had taken the same business idea Ivan had suggested years earlier. Time continued to pass, money kept flowing, and Ivan's business continued to grow. During one meeting, he ran into Francisco and Leticia. Francisco was upset because he believed Ivan was taking clients away from him. Old ideas become successful businesses, but old tensions never really disappear. Francisco warned Ivan about it directly, but when Ivan refused to back down, Francisco sent some of his men to teach Ivan and Yannick a lesson. He simply wanted to make it clear that they had no right to do business in his territory. A business dispute is quickly turning into something much more personal. Instead of running from the problem, Ivan decided to confront Francisco face to face. He assured him that he had no intention of stealing his clients. He even offered Francisco 30% of the profits from any business conducted in his area. Hearing that immediately put Francisco in a much better mood. Sometimes, money solves problems that arguments payments never can. By this point, Ivan had made a tremendous amount of money, and it had started to go to his head. When Mary commented on his changing attitude, he became angry. He believed that the person bringing in the most money deserved the most respect. Mary also warned him that her husband had learned about an ongoing investigation involving Francisco and advised Ivan to stay away from the situation. But Ivan ignored her advice and instead started planning how to expand his business even further. The more successful Ivan becomes, the less willing he is to listen. Sometime later, Ivan noticed several undercover police officers standing outside a party. He walked right up to them and told them to take him to their boss. The officers brought him to the police station, where he met Inspector Manuel Roy, the man leading the investigation. Instead of hiding from law enforcement, Ivan decides to approach them himself. Ivan told Roy that he was fully prepared to help the police. He explained that Francisco was his boss, and that all the money ultimately went to him. In return for cooperation, Ivan demanded complete safety and protection. The reason he had agreed to give Francisco 30% of his profits was because he needed evidence later to prove that he had never informed on him. Every move Ivan makes is designed to protect himself from both sides. He needed a believable cover story. That's why he took Leticia to Paris and spent an entire week fulfilling her every request. His relationship with her was largely an act, created so nobody would suspect him. If questions came up later, he could simply say he had been away with his girlfriend the whole time. A few days later, Leticia saw news reports on television about her father being sent to prison. The moment she heard it, she immediately decided to return to Madrid. And just like that, the consequences finally start reaching the people closest to the story. Leticia had absolutely no idea that Ivan was the person responsible for her father's arrest. But when Ivan returned to the city, she caught him sleeping with other women. At that moment, she realized that his love for her had been nothing more than an act. The truth finally catches up to a lie that had been growing for months. After Francisco went to prison, Ivan told everyone that he would take care of Francisco's clients until he got out. But Mary and her husband Francis thought it was a terrible idea. The police would already know who Francisco's clients were, and getting involved with them could put Ivan directly in danger. Sometimes the biggest opportunity is also the biggest trap. Ivan accepted their advice and shut down his business for the time being. He spent the rest of his money partying in Madrid, and when the money finally ran out, he returned home. That's when he learned that his father had passed away and that his mother desperately needed help. Even after coming back home, Ivan couldn't stop thinking about new business opportunities. Everything around him is falling apart, yet his mind keeps chasing the next deal. Eventually, Ivan learned about the Chinese mafia. He asked Louis for information about Yao Ming. Yao specialized in moving dirty money from Spain to China, but his operation relied on outdated methods and frequently ran into problems with law enforcement. Ivan sees an opportunity where everyone else sees a problem. After that, Ivan met with Mary and began discussing a possible deal with Yao Ming. The biggest challenge was that moving money into or out of Switzerland had become nearly impossible. On top of that, their clients still wanted to be paid in cash. Ivan believed he had found the solution. A new plan emerges just when their old system starts breaking down. He suggested transferring the money trapped in Switzerland into Yao's Chinese accounts. In return, Yao would provide them with cash in Spain. Both sides loved the idea and immediately agreed. While Mary and Ivan were celebrating their new arrangement, Francisco suddenly appeared at their table. After learning how Leticia had been betrayed, Francisco discovered that Ivan was the one who had informed the police about him. However, he had managed to get his case dismissed by bribing the judge. The deal may be moving forward, but an old enemy has returned. Now, Francisco wanted revenge on Ivan, no matter what. Around the same time, they learned that a software engineer working for them had leaked a list of Swiss bank accounts. After the leak, Stuhl and Francis disappeared with the remaining money. One leak is enough to send the entire operation into chaos. Ivan and Mary immediately realized they were in serious trouble because most of their clients appeared on that list. The police were now actively pursuing them. They tried to escape, but before they could get away, several men working for their Chinese client captured them and brought them to Yao Ming. The people they once did business with have suddenly become a threat. Yao was facing major problems of his own because the police were also after him. He believed Ivan had informed law enforcement about his operation and wanted both Ivan and Mary dead. Just as Yao was about to shoot him, Ivan quickly came up with a plan. He promised that he would personally make sure Yao's money reached its destination. Ivan convinced him that he would hide inside a shipping container filled with cash and move all of Yao's money from Spain to Hong Kong himself. The plan was extremely risky, but it was the only option he had. For Ivan, survival now depends on a gamble with almost no room for error. It was the only plan that gave Ivan a chance to stay alive. If he successfully reached Hong Kong, Yao would no longer worry about Ivan talking to the police. Following the plan, Ivan arrived safely in Hong Kong. Thinking about the 3% commission he was about to receive, he couldn't have been happier. After everything he's survived, the finish line finally seems within reach. But suddenly, police officers showed up and arrested him. He was sent back to Spain, and now he understood that his only hope was finding finding a good lawyer who could reduce his sentence. A conviction was unavoidable. His attorney later told him that he was looking at least 15 years in prison. The empire Ivan built collapses in a matter of moments. Desperate, Ivan even tried to bribe the police inspector, but the officer refused. Later, Ivan learned that Mary had given information about him to the authorities in order to save herself, which was why he had been arrested in Hong Kong. Ivan understood her decision. He admitted that if he had been in her position, he probably would have done the same thing. Eventually, Yao Ming was also captured by the police. In the end, as Ivan prepared to begin his prison sentence, he finally realized that his father had been right all along. During an interview, he admitted that money can go to a person's head, and that the exact same thing had happened to him. In the end, the lesson wasn't about money, it was about what money turned him into. In the end, Ivan didn't lose when he got caught. He lost the moment money became more important than everything else. And that's what makes this story so hard to forget. If stories like this stay with you, stay with RAFSAT Cord. Some endings don't fade, they linger.